Hi, I'm Catherine Mora. I am the head book coach and publishing director at Change Empire Books, where we help coaches, speakers, and aspiring thought leaders write beautiful books and get them out into the world. This is Kat's Book Chat, where every day I talk about topics to do with writing, editing, launching, promoting your books. Today's topic is mistakes I made when doing publicity for my book and what to do instead. Now, some of you might know that I was actually a former publicist. I worked in marketing and media for 15 years before I trained as a coach and before I wrote my first book. So I had a lot of experience in publicity, and they used to call me the pitching queen because nearly everything I pitched would get picked up. So that means I do know what journalists and editors are looking for generally. No one can ever really know, but I tended to be able to pick it. So you would think that that meant that I would do everything perfectly when it came to promoting my own book. However, I think when you write a book and you've put all this work into it, you can get a bit carried away and a bit excited, and then you end up making mistakes when that happens, right? Even though you're trying to be strategic and you think it's for the best, it isn't always for the best. So the beauty is, with the mistakes I've made, I now know how to help my clients not make those same mistakes. So let me share a few of those with you. So the first thing was that I hired 3 publicists, one in Australia, one in LA, and one in London. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but the publicist that I hired in London was very, very cheap. She was basically she worked in a PR agency, and she was wanting to go out on her own. So she'd put up listings to do publicity at a pretty cheap price. But of course, what happened was she had a day job, and therefore she was trying to squeeze in doing publicity before and after work. And essentially, she just didn't do anything because she realized she'd bitten off more than she could chew with taking on clients outside her day job. So that was a complete disaster in the UK, which was a nightmare because the character in my book was British. It was a novel, and it would have made a lot of sense for her to do a lot of work in a British market. So I really made a mistake there. In LA, I did kind of the same thing. I talked to a number of publicists, and I was really shocked by how expensive they were, to be honest with you. Now, especially given what I know now with regards to book sales not making money, I'm glad I didn't spend more. But I will say that I also went for a cheap publicist in LA. Now, she was a great girl, and she did a lot of work and put in a lot of effort, and she went over and above the amount that she had agreed to based on what I paid her. It was less than $1,000. It was like $700 or $800 US or something. So it was very, very cheap. The only thing is, though, she was cheap because she was kind of changing industries, or she was going outside her normal focus of publicity, and she normally worked in like beauty or something, accessories and beauty, and this was obviously fiction, which was a really different kettle of fish. So the way she operated didn't really work. And one of the things that we did was actually send gift bags to all of the editors in LA, London, and Australia. And this is all coordinated by the publicist in LA. So I got tote bags done up. In fact, I found them yesterday when I was cleaning up the crap from my office when I did an office redecoration a few months ago. And I found the only tote bag that I had, right? So I think that's going to be backwards, right? I can never tell with these videos. So anyway, we did these tote bags, and we filled them up with summer essentials, and they were really cute, you know, had all these bits and pieces in them, but zero stories as a result. And it cost me a shitload of money sending these bags all over the world. Don't ever do that. Just send a really, really great release with a really great hook, and you'll be okay. So that was a massive mistake, and I wasted a lot of money on that. Now, in Brisbane, in Australia, I hired a fantastic publicist, and I now use them with my clients. Now, they weren't cheap, and as you see by the 2 cheaper publicists I had, I didn't get any publicity. Therefore, going cheap is not something to look for when you're looking for a publicist. You want skill and runs on the board. Now, these guys I used were amazing. They had me in 23 outlets in 20 days. However, we still made a mistake. And that was to do with the timing of the publicity. So I had my book coming out on the 16th of July, I think it was, or 14th of July 2015, I think it was. And the publicity we did about 6 weeks beforehand. Now, publicity before something can certainly work well in some situations. However, what we discovered is publicity for a book needs to be at launch time or shortly thereafter, even if it's a day before through to a few days afterwards. That's where you want to do your big push. Because we did it before, the problem was that it's an instant gratification society. People didn't want to wait 6 weeks for my book. So when people would see me in the media, they'd go to buy my book, they'd realize it wasn't out for 6 weeks or 5 weeks or 4 weeks, right? And people don't want to wait. They want it right now. Yes, someone might wait for Michelle Obama's book or someone else's book, but probably not for my book. I still had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pre-sales. I can't remember now how many pre-sales I had. I think it was close to 1,000. I honestly can't remember. But when I met an agent later, when my book had done quite well, she said to me, oh my gosh, that was such a mistake doing your publicity before your launch. You would have sold 10 times the amount of books if your book had been available when someone saw you in the media. So that was a big mistake. Try and time it just around your launch. And of course, this is how you become a bestseller as well. You want everyone to see and buy your book in the first week of launch, and bam, that's how you get bestseller status. That's my 3 major learnings around that. I hope that was helpful. Send me questions at any time. I'm going to drop a checklist below for book writing and publishing tips. And until the next video, happy writing.